We all agree that we have one of the most attractive church campuses in all of Tyler. Beautiful colonial architecture, expansive lawn, giant shade trees. It is truly an urban oasis. But it was not always that way. The story of how our campus, and especially our beautiful grounds, came to be says a lot about who we were in 1950. But it also tells us a lot about who we are today. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas. When we moved into our current sanctuary and education building in 1950, it was not yet finished. It wasn't that the congregation was impatient to move in. The issue was that the congregation simply couldn't afford to complete the whole thing. Portions of the building, most notably the second floor where our adult Sunday school classes and choir now meet, were left as an empty shell for several years until the church could afford to finish it. And not only the building itself, but the grounds as well. The church couldn't afford landscaping, at least not at first. But with as beautiful a building as they had built, our forebears couldn't simply let the front lawn grow up with weeds. As a result, a plan came into focus, a plan that would unite the church in a common purpose. Can't afford to buy grass? No problem. Let's share our grass, literally. A plan was hatched that enabled the church to have a lawn. Church members were asked to share a portion of their own lawns, their St. Augustine grass. It's not entirely clear to me whether there was enough grass to cover the entire yard, but church members took up squares of grass from their own yards and brought them to the church. And together, they stitched together grass from each other's lawns to create the lovely church yard we enjoy today, over 70 years later. I think there's a lot to be said for what the church did. In the first place, they dreamed big. They didn't limit their vision to what they could afford at the moment. They challenged themselves to go beyond what they thought they could do. They stretched their resources beyond what they could imagine. They came up with innovative ways to complete the plans. Oh, I'm sure there were cautious voices in the congregation at the time urging caution, prudence, restraint. Don't bite off more than you can chew, they would say. Don't get out over your skis. And surely there are times to be cautious, deliberate, conservative. But just as surely, there are times to take risks, to be bold, to push the envelope just a little bit. And that is exactly what the congregation did. I think this story about risk-taking and about the innovative plan to create the churchyard from the lawns of the various congregants tells us a lot about who we are. It really is a metaphor, isn't it? It's a metaphor about the power of sharing what we have with one another. It's a metaphor about overcoming difficulties with grace and imagination. It's a metaphor about how the congregation is more than just a collection of individuals, is more than just the sum of its parts. This congregation has always done its best work when stretched and challenged. It has achieved the most when it has banded together to solve big problems. There are always problems to solve in the life of any church. There are always challenges that seem to threaten the church. But our church has always risen to the challenges that it has faced. And if you doubt that, just go out and sit on our lawn and remember the people who dug up squares of St. Augustine grass from their yards so that we, 70 years later, could enjoy it today. There's an old story in the Jewish Midrash, and I'm sure I'll get it wrong, and you may have heard it. In it, a rabbi encounters an old man planting a fruit tree. "So, you'll think you'll be around when that tree produces fruit, do you?" the rabbi said. The man responded, "My ancestors planted trees from which I ate fruit as a boy. I'm planting this tree so that my descendants will have fruit long after I'm gone. In a world of instant everything, isn't it nice to enjoy a place that has been handed down to us so that we can hand it down to a generation yet to join the church? That's what these stories tell me about who we are. And now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do, this day and in all the days ahead.